Hi, everybody. Mark here with Couch to Camino 2026. This is our 7th weekly update. We've got a lot of strangely new subscribers. So just a reminder, I'm getting ready to do my 6th time on the Camino de Santiago in April of 2026. And I'm uploading weekly updates showing you how I go through my planning. And we're going to have conversations about everything you need to think about before your Camino for next year. We are at day 218 from departure. It's hot as heck, so I'm back at the cottage again. Past that, if you have any questions, feel free to ask down below. If you'd rather have a private conversation, you can email me at askmeacaminoquestion@gmail.com, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm trying to check those a couple of times a day, but sometimes the answers I need to give are a little long. I do have a couple of things that came up in some emails from last week that I'm going to talk about this morning real quick, and then we'll get you on your way. This should be a fairly short one, I hope. So, as always, the too long didn't listen summation for this week is based on some questions I got. I'm just going to run through these real quick. Why do I prefer the apps and websites instead of the published paperback books, like the Brierley Guide from John Brierley's organization, rest his soul? Wise Pilgrim produces a book. There's lots of books out there. Back in the old days, those made a lot of sense. They don't make a whole lot of sense to me now. Personally, if you want to rock a book, you should absolutely take a book. For me, the information is good. They do publish them every year, but with the thousands and thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of people that are doing this thing, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of flexible joints in the system. And while the Brierley book or the Wise Pilgrim book, paperback, can tell you, yeah, there's an albergue in this village that looks pretty fun, it can't tell you that that albergue has had daily reports of bed bugs for the past 3 weeks. The apps can. With this many people, that sort of information is important. So that's just why I tend to go with the apps instead of the books, especially when I'm there. You can plan your stages on paper. That's no big deal. Second is Camino companies. There are many companies out there that will help you for a fee arrange your Camino. There are some pitfalls. You need to be very careful if you're going to use them. Their charges can be a little bit high, but if you just don't want to deal with the organization, there's nothing wrong with using one of those. Just be aware that I have run into people that have used these. Just 2 scenarios that sort of made me wonder and makes me say, be careful, is one person I met in 2020. She had booked with a company, and they had booked all of her lodging for the entire thing. They gave her her schedule. They booked all of her lodging. She got norovirus really bad. She couldn't leave where she was for 3 days. Couldn't leave, and she was, pretty badly contagious, so she couldn't take a bus, a train, or a taxi to get to her next location. She was going home, because the contract she signed with that company said that if you miss a day, you lose all your lodging and you get no refund. She had basically lost the money for half of her Camino, and she was just like, I'm not going to pay twice for this last half. I'm headed home. It's kind of a bummer. I was very surprised that a Camino company would do that. The other thing is we met some folks in 2022 who had booked through, basically, I think they were going from Leon on. They had booked through a Camino company. The Camino company gave them their itinerary, had set up all of their lodging, seemed to be fine, reasonable price. They didn't give them any information. They didn't say, okay, here's your map, here's your elevation guide, here's what to expect, here's how tough the terrain will be. And I emailed the company and said, hey, I have some experience. I just have a question. Do you guys provide this? And they said, no. I offered to write a quick guide or whatever they needed, completely for free. Just let them use it. And basically their answer was, if you come to us, we sort of expect it's your responsibility to figure out how difficult it's going to be. It's not us. It's not our job to babysit you. Valid or not, that would be nice to know before you head in, because these nice ladies had no freaking clue how bad some of the ups and downs were. So anyway, there's just pitfalls. Just be aware. Be honest with your with the Camino company, saying, "Hey, I can only do so many kilometers or miles per day. I want to take breaks in these cities. I have this much time," and work with them. Just don't take a package and expect to walk, because it may just wreck you and you won't have a very good time. Two other little things. So something weird's been going on. I've been emailing back and forth with a couple of albergues that I like. I mentioned last week. Man, just for my stuff in April, a lot of stuff's already full. And now these are pinch points where I know there's only so much, so many beds available. So it could be that. But I also noticed when I went on to my airline app, all the seats around me and on the airline are full. There's almost no seats open on this flight from Dallas to Madrid in April. That seems a little crazy that it's that booked already, and we're 7 months out. So, I mean, if you're thinking about doing something between January and maybe 1st of June, you might want to start thinking about nailing stuff down. At least maybe Saint-Jean, or wherever you're going to start. And by the way, wherever, if you're going to start in somewhere like Pamplona, Burgos, Leon, whatever, one of the big major cities, schedule yourself an extra day when you get there to explore. It'd be a real shame to get to Pamplona at mid-afternoon and know you got to start walking at 8 o'clock the next morning. You're going to have no chance to really explore what an amazing town Pamplona or Burgos or Logroño or Leon, whatever, are. So maybe give yourself a little time to unwind from travel and explore that. You know, you're in Spain, you're in a world-class city, you might as well. If you haven't started walking, you might want to start getting some walking in. The weather here is going to break next week. We are going from mid-90s to low 70s over the weekend. So I'm going to try to get some walking in. If you haven't started, start getting some walking in. And if you have any little issues with your feet, get them dealt with now. Go see a podiatrist. It may be a smaller problem than you think they can fix with an office visit or two. I rubbed a little math on the Camino, and if you have a little issue in your foot that you notice after you've taken a walk and you've burned maybe 7,000 steps, and it was noticeable, over the course of the Camino, I measured my stride, did all this stuff. So in the course of an average Camino for me, I walk about 1.1 million steps. If you have an issue that comes up in 5,000 steps, it's going to show up when you do 1 million steps. So just think about getting it dealt with now. That way you're not dealing with it on the trail, because that ain't no fun. Lastly, channel updates. I've sat and with my wife, we kind of goofed off, jokingly did a list of the drinks that I would do for the sort of cultural drinks of northern Spain. And between the non-alcoholic and the alcoholic stuff and what to expect in bars, I realized that's going to be like a 3.5-hour video, and by the end I will die. So I'm not going to do that quite to that extent. What I am going to do is start, probably next week, I'll start including a little drink primer or non-alcoholic thing in each of them. This week it's Gatorade, because it's really hot out. They do sell Gatorade there. And lastly, I've said in one of my first videos that I really don't talk about, or I don't show stuff on the Camino. I don't show walking and scenery and all the stuff that's on the Camino, just because it's not my vibe. I think you should experience that yourself. But that's just me. If you feel more comfortable knowing what you're going into, God bless, do it. What I am going to start doing is at the end of every episode, I'm going to share a little lodging, bar, restaurant, church, park, something that I think is really cool that just adds something to the joy of Spain, and hopefully you'll like it as much as I do. So those will be kind of throwaway stuff towards the end. So that's it. That's why I use apps instead of books. Watch yourself if you're going to use a Camino company. Nothing wrong with it. Just be careful. If you're going to get out and do some walking and you got some foot issue, get out there and get your feet checked. Lodging. Lodging and flights. If you're going in the spring, I would start looking at that stuff now because something weird's going on. I don't know what it is. Even emailing some other albergues further towards the start to St. Jean and stuff, they're already seeing like almost full booking. So I don't know what's going on, but think about it. And then lastly, the silly little channel update. So that's the TLDL. Now on to the ramble. Playing with my new tablet. So there's not a whole lot more to cover in the apps, not books. Let me say that the Brierley organization is responsible for more people successfully walking the Camino than any other group, company, forum, anything. Brierley led the way in the modern Camino books. They're a brilliant organization. Their work is great. It's just not something that I find useful for me in the modern age. The other issue is, so in the book, John says a lot about the environment and such, but then it says, hey, not all of this book is really necessary on the Camino. Just tear out the pages you need and take them with you. So the book you cut down trees to make, you want me to use parts of it because you're an environmentalist. I was never able to square that circle, but the info is great. In 2022, just outside of Viana, I met a guy who was doing some filming for Brierley. They apparently somewhere, I haven't even thought to look for it until now. They were putting together a footstep by footstep hyperlapse of the entire Camino de Santiago. That this guy, he was walking with a camera backpack with a big pole above his head. I mean, the camera was like 3 foot above him. He kept running into trees. It was kind of funny. Super nice guy, worked directly for Brierley. And John, while he was alive, was kind of against, from what he told me, I don't know if this is true, from what he told me, was against apps and wanted to stay with the book. Since John has passed, they are working on an app. And as much as I love Wise Pilgrim and the folks that run it, man, if Brierley, with their experience, if they get an app out and get it solid, that's going to be world class. They're great people. They know what they're doing. There's a deep history there. They're going to do good stuff. And again, things like the apps allow you to see, are there any issues with the albergue you might want to stay at or whatever. There's constant bed bug reports, and we'll talk about bed bugs in the health and safety episode coming up. Maybe in the lodging one too. I'm going to repeat a lot of this stuff because not everybody's watching every video, which, it is what it is. The other thing is things like, the Brierley book or the Wise Pilgrim paper book can tell you, hey, in Valcarlos, there's a municipal albergue that's open all year. In 2020, when I got to Valcarlos, because I hadn't bothered to check, yeah, it was closed. It was January. It was closed because they had apparently had a plumbing issue. So I ended up walking all the way to Roncesvalles that day. Not a huge deal. I like Valcarlos. It's a neat little village, and I like the bar there. But yeah, if I just would have looked on the app, it would have told me it was closed because other people had run into that. So it allows you some flexibility. So whatever you dig. The Camino companies, I kind of covered that in the TLDL. The Camino companies can be really cool. And they can arrange everything from I believe, from your flights to your transfers to your lodging. I think they even, this is the first I've mentioned this, if you don't want to carry your backpack, you don't have to. There are companies, you pay them about €5 a day. You drop a $5 in a little envelope that every single albergue, hotel, posada, everybody has. You drop a $5 in there, you write the name and address of where you're going to be staying. You carry a satchel or a day pack, off you go, and your backpack is there by the time you arrive at the albergue. So you can kind of overpack a little bit, not have to worry about it, be a little more comfortable. If you want to take your extra stuff with you. But anyway, the Camino companies can arrange that as a daily luggage transfer as well. It's kind of cool. But you just have to be very upfront with them about, hey, I'm comfortable with about 25 kilometers per day. I want to keep it at that. I want private rooms, or at least rooms in a private bathroom. It's kind of a weird thing. It happens. Or shared rooms with you can get private rooms with a shared bathroom sometimes that are a little cheaper than a private room with its own bathroom. Some of the smaller family-run albergues have that. So just be upfront with the company. And I understand why people use them, but really, if you dig into some of the apps and such that we've talked about, I think you can do it yourself. I believe in you. I think you can do it. If I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Let's keep going real quick because the freaking battery is flat. Battery warning is flashing on my stupid gimbal. Lodging for January to June. Think about getting your lodging and your flights. Look at it now. When you're looking at your lodging, if you get a lodging nailed down for like Saint-Jean or something, and it's for, let's say, May 5th. Keep in mind when you fly from the US, if you're flying out of the US, you're going to lose a day. So if you leave on the 1st of May, you will arrive in Europe, Paris or Madrid, on the 2nd of May. It may be early evening before you arrive in Saint-Jean. So that means the 4th of May, hopefully you're taking a down day to relax and recover from your trip. If not, well, then, make sure your lodging and when you can actually arrive is going to work out for you. Just don't forget you lose a day when you fly in. When you fly home, you don't. You only lose it's like 4 or 5 hours. It's not that bad. I'm going fast here. My videos are a little long and some people don't like that. If you haven't started walking, please start. If you have some minor foot issues, get them seen to, because it really, if you think about when we are going to start talking about footwear and socks and such coming up in November, December, it doesn't make sense to try to get a shoe and socks, shoes, and like insoles for a foot problem you have now when you could just get it fixed and you don't have that problem. Then you maybe need completely different shoes, insoles, and socks. So this is a horse I'm going to keep beating until it's gone. Get that stuff dealt with now. Let me scroll down a little bit here. Let's just talk a little bit about shoes. You could easily get your shoes now. If you don't have any issues, figure out your sock situation. Personally, I do 2 sock. I wear a liner, a lightweight merino, ultralight merino runner's liner sock, a heavier, floofier merino wool hiking sock, and then the shoe, boot, whatever I'm going to wear. Whatever sock system works for you, take that with you when you go to shop for a pair of shoes. And the shoes you get now should be just fine for, even if you're going to walk a couple 100 miles between now and when you leave, you're probably going to be just fine. I weigh well over 200 pounds. I can still get about 1,000 miles out of a pair of shoes before they fall apart. If you're lighter, you're going to get more than that. So find something you're comfortable in now. Keep in mind the weather. Maybe if you're going in the summer, you don't need a Gore-Tex shoe, which can be a little tiny bit warmer. But if you're going in early April or winter, you might want a Gore-Tex shoe or boot and some Gore-Tex socks or something just to keep your feet dry. And really, there's no right or wrong answer on should you be wearing a high boot, a mid boot, a shoe, a trail runner. Met a girl in Valcarlos back in 2018 who crossed over to Roncesvalles faster than my brother-in-law and I did. She was wearing a pair of grocery shopping bags on her feet and sandals, like Keen sandals, over those. She had no problems. So don't think you have to get really clumpy, expensive boots. You can get away with some fairly comfortable stuff. The only thing that really is going to matter between a cheap shoe and an expensive shoe is the quality of the actual outer sole. Like there's a lot of Skechers that have I don't want to pick on Skechers, but Skechers, that sort of quality, they're very squishy. They're very comfortable, but their outer sole is really not meant for 500 miles of walking on gravel and that sort of stuff. So just keep to a more, might be better to keep to a trail running shoe or a running specific shoe or a hiking specific shoe. And there's lots of variations. Get out there and look. If you've got an REI or a local running store, trail running is really big all over the US. So you can find running stores, Shield, any of the good stores should be able to help you figure out a shoe or boot that's going to work for you. And the nice thing about REI is if you get an REI membership, you can wear a pair of shoes on the entire Camino. You have 1 year to take them back. My friend Kelly wore a pair of, I think, Hoka Speed Goats. Hoka something. Might not have been a Speed Goat. They were supposed to have a fairly robust rock plate. That's a stiff piece in the middle that keeps you from feeling gravel. He could pretty much count every piece of gravel along the entire way. So he was a little footsore. He walked the entire Camino, took them back to REI. They gave him his money back. It's a real benefit. You do pay a tiny bit more, like 5% more for stuff there than getting it on Amazon. But man, being able to take something back after a full Camino, that same Camino, I had bought a REI branded backpack. Their first try at making an ultralight backpack, and it did not work out well. So I ended up taking that back as well. So anyway, if you can get into a really good, reputable outdoor shop or running shop that may have some good, knowledgeable people in trail running, just give them an idea what you're going to do. They're going to set you up. Take your shoes or your socks with you, whatever you're going to do. And the other thing is, if you can work it into your schedule, shop for shoes and boots at the end of the day when your feet are swollen, not at the beginning of the day when your feet are lean and skinny and not as inflamed. I don't want to say inflamed, but not as swollen from your daily activities. It's great if you can go on like a 5-mile hike. Go home, wash your feet real quick because you got weird feet. Go off to the store, take your socks with you, and get them there. Because your feet are going to swell a lot as you're walking for X number of miles per day. And we'll talk more about footwear as we go. Probably sometime. Yeah, I think it's one of the October, November. So the last little stuff is the drinks explanations. I'll do something next week. I was going to do coffee this morning, but I can't find the coffee cups that go in my espresso maker. We're packing up a house right now, and they got packed away. So special place. I've already mentioned this place once, but I'm going to mention it again here at the end of this one. Sorry, looking at my battery. In Pamplona, in the northeast corner of the battlements, over by the cathedral, you have to kind of wind around and find it. There's a beautiful restaurant called the Caballo Blanco, the White Horse. They have some of the best pinchos and tapas, little snacks, little stuff. They have the best blended mojito. I deeply suspect that they're harvesting mint from right there in their gardens and such. I just love that place. You sit out on the terrace. It's on the battlement, so you can kind of see forever. You can see back to where you just walked through the mountain, the valley passes into Pamplona. It's really, really cool. Great food, friendly folks, great atmosphere outside. Strangely, I've eaten there probably a dozen times. I've never been inside the building. We always just sit out on the terrace. And it's in sort of the pilgrim area, but it's a locals place as well. Really a lot of fun. So again, Caballo Blanco in Pamplona, give it a try. I think you're going to really like it. I've got 5 or 6 places in Pamplona. Pamplona is an amazing town, and when we talk about food and such, we'll talk about pinchos and tapas and raciones and all the different variations of Spanish food in restaurants and bars and such. But Pamplona is kind of where the good stuff begins. And then you're going to have that all the way to, kind of Burgos. The pinchos sort of tapers away after Burgos, yeah, kind of tapers away, but you start hitting tapas and stuff a little more when you're heading into Leon. So anyway, that's it for this week. It's a short one, just cleaning up some loose ends. Next week, we're going to start talking about lodging. This is the first of our Life on the Camino month. It's actually going to be 5 weeks. We're going to be talking about what's an albergue? What can I expect at an albergue? What are my options for albergues? Because there's lots of different ones. What are my, if I don't want to use an albergue, if I want something a little more private, albergues have private rooms. There's posadas, hotels, casa rurals, apartments, apartamentos. There's all sorts of options. So we'll kind of dive down into those next week. You can get a better idea of what might be right for you. And hey, it's great to do a mix and match. If you just need some private time, maybe you need to do some work, or you just need to have a night where there's not a bunch of pilgrims inside your head, there's going to be some options for you. And sometimes if you fall into a group of people, there's some private options that may only cost €1 or 2 more than sleeping in a bunk bed, but you might be able to get an entire apartment to yourself. So we'll cover that next week. I hope the weather is going to get better for everybody real soon, and get out there and do some walking, and we will see you next week.